Chris Collins is rumored to be leaving Northwestern for Villanova. Chris Collins has been thought of leaving Northwestern the last couple years when his son graduates. His son just graduated. He was a team manager and he walked for senior day. So every indication is there that he's going to graduate, be done at Northwestern. And it seems like Chris Collins has kind of stuck it out there, but he's been frustrated with, it seems like from behind the scenes, he's not come out publicly and said this, but seems like he's been frustrated with the academia, the lack of resources, and kind of the perception that Northwestern has in the league. We saw a little bit of that at the Big Ten tournament when he was frustrated with like the no AC and stuff. He had the quote of like they're trying to get us or something. So definitely he seems frustrated with kind of where the Northwestern is in the pecking order of the Big Ten, but also like that's the thing, like I make a Northwestern video on here, it gets 2 views, right? Because there's just not that many Northwestern fans that are that much diehards. Like they go to the games, they're interested, but like Northwestern is not going to bring you a bunch of diehard fans, and I've seen that. That's one of the reasons why I don't talk a ton of Northwestern hoops because there's just not the fans that want to gobble that up. Now, as a Big Ten channel, I do talk Northwestern hoops, but just like if I'm going to make a video, I'm more inclined to make a video about Illinois than Northwestern because Illinois fans are crazy and they're going to watch the video. I'm going to get 5,000 views, right? I would love to be the type of channel that could just make a video about anybody, but unfortunately, that's not always the case. And I'm not trying to come after Northwestern fans. Like, Northwestern fans are great. Some of the ones I've interacted with on Twitter and stuff, like, they're great. There's just not as many of them. And that's really, really hard. And I think that, well, maybe, I mean, we don't know for sure. That could be a part of the frustration for Chris Collins as well. The culture of the school and maybe not, investing in basketball as maybe another school like Villanova would. He's had his name whispered around a little bit for Indiana. I think Indiana wants to make a bigger splash than that, and unfortunately, even though Chris Collins is a really good coach and he's done some really good things at Northwestern, I think he would do a good job at Indiana. I think that if he was hired, you would have some fans there that are kind of like, really, like we're Indiana, we should have better than this, and like I don't know, like maybe big name wise, sure, but like again, I think Chris Collins would do a good job at Indiana. I don't see him doing it because I think Indiana wants to make a bigger splash than that. I know for a fact last year Ohio State and Chris Collins talked when they were going through a little bit of their coaching search thing. Now, obviously, Ohio State eventually went with Jake Diebler, but I know that was at least discussed there, and there was some speaking between those two. I really feel like though it was this offseason where it was going to happen because Chris Collins wanted to see it through, where his son graduated, was team manager, yada yada yada, all that stuff. I mean, I have a ton of reasons here for why Chris Collins is an underrated coach. Like, I mean, if you don't believe me, just go read his bio on the Northwestern website. Big Ten Coach of the Year, 2023, 2022, 2023. He's the only coach in Northwestern history to take the team to an NCAA tournament. He took him back-to-back years in 2023 and 2024. His wins is third most by a Northwestern head coach. He's had top Big Ten finishes. He's second place in 2022, 2023, tied for third in 2023, 2024 in the Big Ten standings. I mean, he's upset top teams. Illinois this year, Indiana. He's upset Michigan State when they were 20th. Like his player development, Boo Booey, Nick Martinelli, like Brooks Barnheiser. Like his player development is so doggone good. His national recognition. He was named the 2023 Jim Fallon National Coach of the Year, and he was 2024 finalist and 2017 Naismith Coach of the Year finalist, not Big Ten Coach of the Year, National Coach of the Year finalist. He's had historic seasons. Like I go on and on and on about this guy with how much of an underrated coach he is. He didn't have the best season this year, but he also lost 2 of his top 3 scorers on the team. So it's unfortunate, but I see him doing a whole lot better at a school like Villanova. Now, here's the issue. Villanova has not fired their coach. So that's kind of one of the reasons why this is kind of a rumor and not getting that many legs yet. But when you think of Villanova, you think of Jay Wright, 1 seed, 2 seed in the NCAA tournament. I think they were that like 6 times or something like that in his career there. Well, Kyle Neptune, he's gone 0 for 3 for making the NCAA tournament. He's not going to make the NCAA tournament this year. He's 53 and 46 overall, 31 and 29 in the Big East. He's been a disappointment. He's had pedestrian numbers, and the program has much higher aspirations for what Kyle Neptune can, quite frankly, bring them to or has brought them to so far. So if he gets fired, it feels like Chris Collins is going to be a done deal. Now, there is some misconception here, right? A lot of people are saying, well, Chris Collins is from Philly. Well, his dad played for the 76ers when he was born, but he still has much more connections to Chicago. So if you're looking for a reason on why this might be kind of fool's gold and he's just trying to leverage an extension or more money from Northwestern, that could be a part of it. But at the end of the day, I think the frustrations are too high for Chris Collins that if he gets the chance to move on, I think he probably takes it. You never know. There is something about familiarity and where you're at, and Chris Collins maybe wanting to not jump to the Big East and instead jump somewhere in the Big Ten. But just to put it in perspective for you, like Northwestern's entire roster this year, which had Nick Martinelli, Brooks Barnheiser, Ty Berry, Jalen Leach, like some really good players on it. Two players for Villanova made more NIL money this year than the entire Northwestern roster. So if that gives you any idea of where these two programs are NIL wise, like that's huge. Now, um, Villanova does not have the budget that the athletic budget that Northwestern has, so I do think that needs to be taken into account. But like as long as NIL is still legal, which it should be in the new era of college basketball, like he won't have the revenue sharing of uh, of a Northwestern, but he still might have better NIL that is going to get him in a better spot. Like I said, two players for Villanova had more NIL paid to them combined than the entire Northwestern team combined, like the entire team combined, not just like, oh, they had two players and everybody else on the team. No, combined, they had more. So, uh, I think it's interesting. The move makes sense to me, but ultimately I could also see Collins sticking in the Big Ten. It's a more prestigious conference. He's had some success at Northwestern. He has connections to Chicago. Maybe it happens. We'll see. But I think it's gonna be really interesting to see how it goes. So, all right.